I'm here to present you guys Kobus and Nikos. Okay, Kobus is a long-standing TOC practitioner. I hesitate to use the word Jonah, but he's really a Jonah from the last century. Has been working recently. I gotta say, I was born in the past century or past millennia, if you prefer. And Kobus have been working with turnaround strategies, implementing TOC in the thinking of turnaround for quite a while now. I have seen him do this for a few number of years now, and it's always nice when he comes to present us another way of looking at people and the people's side of the turnaround business and how TOC concepts help in general, not only looking at turnaround, but helping people transform. And together with him, we have Nikos, who's the president of Amet Fine Printers, to present us today with this case they developed together. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Umberto. Appreciate it. Well, many of you know me, but just for those who don't, I work in, you saw this morning, the level 1 to level 6, if you were at Henry Camp sessions, level 1 to level 6 companies on financial health. I work with companies level 1 and level 2, and very interesting what we find in those type of areas. Very similar to what Alex Rogo experienced with his company in the goal. He had 3 months to fix it, and we face similar situations. So I'm honored to be here with Nikos Kallas. We've been working with his company since last year. And I will just give Nikos a chance to give you an overview of the history of Metropolitan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Is it on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Family business, Met Fine Printers. My father started about 40 years ago. This is our 40th year in business. Started as a little printing company, a 3-man operation. Went to over 100 employees about a year and a half ago, and then back down to about 75 employees now. We cater to business to consumer corporations, real estate developers, consumer-driven companies, restaurant chains, advertising agencies, and graphic designers. We specialize in really, really high-end commercial printing. And I'm here, and I'm excited to show you what Kobus has put together here and helped us really transform our company from being a sort of a mom-and-pop family business to now to growth and continual profitability. And it's exciting for us. So.
Right. He's really stated here to the customers, real estate boom, a license to print money for the printing industry. But you didn't really make money because your company made an acquisition that got you a little bit into trouble.
Yes.
Okay, and that is when I was introduced. They asked me to come and have a look at the company. I did a 2-day opportunity assessment to show them how much money they can make and what is preventing them from making money. So we highlighted the low utilization of your 2 printing presses, the high overtime you were paying. They were paying on average more than $20,000 per month in overtime. And there was good opportunity to improve their OEE. You heard this morning about OEE in other presentations here. They used a similar metric in their industry. And setup times, or as they call it, make-ready times, were tremendously long. But just give us an overview of when I started versus when we got going. What were the things that really surprised you or opened your eyes?
Yeah, so being a family business, I built, personal relationships with a lot of the people that have been working there for 10, 15, 20, some upwards of 30 years. And I grew up as a kid in the business, so I guess I had bias towards the personal relationships I had with some of the people that were in the wrong positions. And then we, Kobus came in and did a pretty full-length analysis on the entire company, and sort of saw things that I didn't see. And there was a couple people that were in pretty senior positions that shouldn't have been in those senior positions that were kind of holding us back from actually reaping the benefits of this buoyant market that we had. So we were coasting. We'd make a little bit of money one year, lose some money the next year, having a pretty nice lifestyle going through that. And then we acquired one of our competitors that went bankrupt. Right before they went bankrupt, we acquired, it was an asset sale that came to us because of a couple years earlier approaching them if they ever wanted to sell to come talk to us. And then that's when things got kind of challenging for us through that acquisition. It was the first major acquisition that we've done. We basically doubled the size of the company overnight, adding a new facility in Alberta, which is the province next to British Columbia. So we took on another facility, shutting one facility down and moving 60% of the staff into our production and office space. It was new. I've never done we've acquired smaller companies, but that was a pretty big company for us to acquire, so we needed some outside help.
Right.
And then that's when we initiated
And very specifically, the production manager used to be a pressman, so everyone assumed that he was doing a great job and he was having these daily meetings, CI meetings on the shop floor where the shop floor would stop and everyone would come and share their improvements. So it had the impression that a lot of continuous improvement was happening, but it wasn't connected to the right metrics. So behind the scenes, there were no continuous improvement really going on. So what was happening was that they had a real low utilization and they really couldn't benefit from it. But this person, once we showed the disk profiles, we showed Nikos his own personal disk profile, just the way you are wired, and then we saw that the production person was really a salesperson. He was wired like a salesperson. And 10 years ago, he has asked Metropolitan to move him into sales. And they said, well, we can't afford to lose you in production, so we cannot do it. And so, but all of his focus was already into sales. So once we have moved him into sales, after 2 months in the project, we moved the production VP into sales, where he's still today. And I assumed the interim vice president operations position. And from there, it started to work. And then we started to have the right metrics. And some other people then automatically resigned because it was clear that they were not suited for their role. So a lot of these people issues were sorting themselves out as we started shining the light on the right metrics. This is the press running. So this is the video that we will take. So we say, there's the last good sheet now that the operator is removing, and you see step 0, last good sheet. And then we will show the pressman what are all the actions that they go through to get to the next good sheet. And you will soon see there's a step number 16 that will come up when he gets to his next good sheet. And that's many hours that goes by. And then we challenge the team, what are the things that you can change to reduce this? But a lot of the things that you change was not in the pressman's hands. You had a person, the maintenance person, who had a terrible car accident and he died almost 10 years ago, right? And that person was never replaced because the vice president of operations had his eye on sales. He wasn't focusing on the production. He wanted to get into sales. So they were just assuming that the presses are being maintained. So what we found was presses that were not maintained at all, and that is why these guys were running so poorly on the presses. So that was the good news because that's something you can fix and improve. So this is one of our first Kaizen events. Or this was the second one. The first one was almost 350 minutes. And then we started to see some improvement. And we set our goal at 90 minutes, an hour and a half that's what we thought could be achievable on we did have one of the Kaizen events that beat it, but we couldn't consistently rely on that. So let me just explain one other thing. This is a folder that I would typically make. And this job, what was very invisible in this industry, and that's a big learning point we took from this, we couldn't understand or clearly see when the customer ordered 1,000 copies of this folder. But the amount of paper that they actually purchased for that was very invisible. So the planning formula they used was 150 sheets of paper times the number of colors. In this case, it was 6 colors, plus 6% for wastage during the run, and that gave them a number. So in this case, what they actually needed was 1,000 sheets, and what they actually purchased was 3,500. Now, this is the smallest run that your company will probably do, right, on a very small end. So this is an exaggerated example, but this is the actual example that opened our eyes You had salespeople complain to you about the costing and the quotations, right? So this also gave you some kind of indication that something was wrong.
Yeah, well, the major opportunity was because some of these high-end projects that we work on, the paper on these higher-end projects is really expensive. So any bit of savings that we can make on that paper alone, we have projects. We have one customer that we buy about $500,000 of paper a year for this one project. Each sheet of paper is $1. So if we can save 1,000 sheets per every so many, for I guess a run of 1,000 of this project, we save $1,000 every time we print it. It adds up pretty quickly. So.
Right. Yeah. So this is the probability distribution of the setup time in Metropolitan. You will see there's zero chance of getting it less than in 30 minutes. And then the probability goes up. 50% chance of getting it in an hour and a half. And there's an 80% chance of getting it in 150 minutes. That's 2.5 hours. And then look at how long the tail of Murphy is here. This is a full shift back here. And quite often, it takes a full shift to get a job off. Now, again, it's not only time. When you have to battle for a whole 8-hour shift to get one job to color, that means you are doing many different pulls. So a pull means the pressman asks for his second pressman on the other side of the press, give me 50 sheets. And they use the waste paper for most of it, and they only use about 20 good sheets, right? So every time 20 good sheets gets used, and still not at color. And they will do 30 pulls sometimes to get to the color in one of these long Murphy events. And that is what we really needed to fix. So the fix was, it only dawned on me when I looked at Ellie Goldrad's CCPM solution and the Parkinson law. So in the Parkinson law, it says that work will fill the available time. But what was happening at Metropolitan was, because they had already purchased 3,500 sheets, guess what? The pressman always ran 3,500 sheets. And so even if he could do it with 1,200 or 1,500, he ran 3,500 sheets, and 3,500 sheets went down to the bindery. And you have a very small shop, so you can't really stack things or put things away. They were just processing it all. So we had this extra waste of processing through the plant as well. So then what to change to? Which the solution is very close to the solution Ellie came up with in CCPM. So as we cut the task duration in half and put half of what we cut at the back, so we did the same. We cut the amount of paper for every form. Now think of it. If you have a thick book, there are multiple sheets that you have to print on your printer, which the bindery will collect into one book. So there are many different forms. So say a job has 4 forms. Murphy can happen on one of any of the 4 forms. So you don't know on which form Murphy is going to strike. So the poor buyer is forced to cover his backside by buying a lot over because he doesn't know where Murphy is going to strike. So doing this solution, we now tell the pressman, now you have much less paper for every form, but don't worry. We do have more paper if you need it, but try and get away with this amount. Try to do it under this amount. We challenge them. And the human behavior kicked in really nice. Now the pressman felt he wants to show you, even if he has 50% chance, I want to show you I can actually do it. So that was quite an exciting human factor that we saw. Rather than, okay, I've got all of this paper, I purchase it anyway. Now I'm going to try and show the planner I can do it in the time that he thinks I cannot do it. When the people read the book, they get a certain amount of credits. When they start a Kaizen event to improve setup time or to improve the speed of the machine, they get a certain amount of points based on the hours it takes them and the role they play in the Kaizen event. So all of that contributes to the belts that they get. And I asked for incentives when I started my project. So Nikos and his partner granted that, and we paid more than $40,000 in incentives to people based on OEE improvements, both in the press room and in the bindery. Because at that point, the bindery was also leaking a lot of money because you used to, if you don't have enough capacity in your bindery, you would just outsource it. And then we found a solution with the other folder, right?
Yeah, we had another folding machine that we had mothballed in our warehouse. Kobus is like, why don't we just bring this over? It's older, but it still works well. And it increased our capacity in our bindery by probably 50%, if not more.
Yeah.
And then we just didn't, and then we eliminated having to outsource a lot of that product that we were outsourcing for finishing. So
Yeah. And
it's a little bit slower, but still brought contribution to the bottom line.
Yeah, and that is straight from the goal, remember? In the goal, they did a similar intervention, so I could just rely on that. So that was classic, and so the amount of incentives really got the people to think different. You saw that in a bindery and in the press room, right? Mm-hmm. So here's some of the belts that people receive. Explain to them a bit how you started to learn about the market office and the spin questions.
Yeah, so our sales team, some are amazing producers, top performers, and a lot aren't. And the ones that aren't are, they just haven't adapted to the new way of doing sales and business. And so Kobus has introduced me to spin selling, and I've read the book and taking a lot of that knowledge and applying it to our business, and also creating blue ocean strategies for targeting our current accounts. And just having some of this, I'm working with a couple of salespeople really closely to really get some wins out of it. And just by getting some of the right questions and asking our current customer base some of these questions, we're opening up like double in business in some of these accounts. We didn't even know they had that extra business because they didn't ask the right questions. So implementing really good sales strategy is also really helping the business now, for sure.
Yeah, one of the avenues for more business for them is fulfillment. A customer would print 1,000, but they don't, or say 30,000, but they don't need 30,000 copies right now. They need it in spread out. So they will offer them a fulfillment solution. So at the rate of the volume rate for 30,000, they will stock it for them in their Calgary facility and release it as they need it at a certain fee, and that really locks in the customer for a long run. So in some of these market offers that we looked at, they were using another fulfillment company, and the salesperson didn't even know about it. And the salesperson didn't even know about that they were giving half of their printing to another shop. So just by us asking the spin questions to these customers, we opened up a lot of avenue to increase throughput through market offer sales in the future. So now under this belt system, Nikos can continue challenging his existing team. When are you doing the next Kaizen? I want to see what your make-ready times or your setup times can be. How low can we take this? How little paper can we use? And hopefully in the future we can present an update on how this is working.
And the incentives have also really helped as well, because the mindset was, I want to get more overtime so I can make more money, right? And now the mindset is, I want to get this done faster so I can make more money faster and not have to work as much.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes, and we had people coming up to me and say, well, that guy is really holding me back. Can't you do something about it? And that's the perfect behavior. So we've really had a lot of, think about it, they were getting more than 20,000 per month in overtime. We cut that when I started to almost zero. It was almost zero overtime, and for them to then be excited about their day or their shift, the incentives, like I say in my book, The Forces of Progress, I have a few copies here if anyone is interested. The incentives should never come first, because that is a pull system for people. But you should first have your lean in place. You should first have a very strong pull system in place. So we first did the buffer and the pull system through the presses and the bindery, and then we started to add the incentives on top of it. And then the behavior was correct, because the queue is proper, and it's the roadrunner effect. If there's no work, fine, I'm not going to get the incentive this payroll. But if there is work, I want to really bust my hump so that I could get maximum incentive. So it was encouraging the roadrunner effect beautifully.
it was painful for the guys at first for a month or two, right? And then they got used to it, and now they like it. So
yeah.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Just one question. Did you measure profit improvement over time, over the cycle, in percentage terms, of course? I know this is a family business, so we're not asking for bold figures, but if you can share that with us, if it's available. If it's not available, that's also okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to give the percentage of losses before I started. They were sizable. The percentage of profit, and this is what I'm talking about now, is net profit, real bottom line, not EBITDA. And that was very close to double digits in the months once we did all the fixes. So all of a sudden, there's a big change in profitability in the overall system.
That's in 8 months. That's in 8 months' time.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of our biggest month in our history, one of the later months, and contract.
Yeah.
Kobus, knowing what you've done before in previous ones, did you use a disc profile to help, Nikos, to help manage his team and change any of the roles around in the early phases?
Exactly. That is the disc profile that highlighted the fact that the vice president of operations was really a sales animal. He had perfect wiring for sales. But I first did it for Nikos himself. Remember when I'm not going to talk about your disc, but remember the impression you got when you first saw your points on the disc profile and how that helped you understand your behaviors?
Mm-hmm. No, it gave me clarity, and then it actually allowed me to be myself and it helped me a lot, actually. It kind of just opened up the world for me, because it's like I have one of my profiles, a really low steadiness, and I was holding back on people. And I don't hold back. I just tell them I need shit done now.
So it gave Nikos a lot of confidence just to drive the team hard. And with the incentives in place, you also feel that you can drive hard now, because now it's to their benefit as well. There's perfect alignment, and you can be. I also got Nikos to read Elon Musk's book by Ashley Vance. Real good book. It shows you how hard Elon Musk drives to get the results that he has gotten. And that also opened Nikos's eyes. Wow, can you really drive people this hard? And so we opened really a few eyes through that process. Thank you, Rob. That was a really important part for everyone to understand what behaviors they should adjust to really fit better into their roles.
And I wish to thank you guys for this excellent presentation. In the name of TOCICO, thank you very much. Nice work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
Excellent job.